Nammo Phat. Good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am determined to speak truthfully, with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news that I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I am determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. Today we're continuing to read through Ajahn Thanissara's essays in The Karma of Questions. Second, the dimension of the deathless is not devoid of awareness, although the awareness here must by definition lie apart from the consciousness included in the five aggregates of fabricated experience. Quote, monks, that dimension should be experienced where the eye, vision, stops, and the perception, mental label, of form fades. That dimension should be experienced where the ear stops and the perception of sound fades, where the nose stops and the perception of aroma fades, where the tongue stops and the perception of flavor fades, where the body stops, the perception of tactile sensation fades, where the intellect stops and the perception of idea, phenomenon fades. That dimension should be experienced. SN 35, 117. Having directly known the extent of designation and the extent of objects of designation, the extent of expression and the extent of the objects of expression, the extent of description and the extent of the objects of description, the extent of discernment and the extent of the objects of discernment, the extent to which the cycle revolves, having directly known that, the monk is released. To say that the monk released, having directly known that, does not see, does not know, is his opinion. That would be mistaken. DN 15. Consciousness without surface, without end, luminous all around. Here water, earth, fire, and wind have no footing. Here long and short, coarse and fine, fair and foul, name and form, are all brought to an end. With the stopping of the aggregate of consciousness, each is here brought to an end. DN 11. Consciousness without surface, without end, luminous all around, is not experienced through the solidity of earth, the liquidity of water, the radiance of fire, the windiness of wind, the divinity of devas, and so on through a list of the various levels of godhood, to the allness of the all, that is, the 6 sense spheres. MN 49. Even so, vacha, any form, feeling, perception, fabrication, consciousness by which one, describing the Tathagata, would describe him, that the Tathagata has abandoned, its root destroyed, like an uprooted palm tree, deprived of the conditions of existence, not destined for future arising, freed from the classification of form, feeling, perception, fabrication, consciousness, vacha. The Tathagata is deep, boundless, hard to fathom, like the sea. MN 72. Freed, dissociated, and released from 10 things, Bahuna, the Tathagata dwells with unrestricted awareness. Which 10? freed, dissociated, and released from form, the Tathagata dwells with unrestricted awareness, freed, dissociated, and released from feeling, from perception, from fabrications, from consciousness, from birth, from aging, from death, from stress, freed, dissociated, and released from defilement, the Tathagata dwells with unrestricted awareness. Just as a red, blue, or white lotus, born in the water and growing in the water, rises up above the water and stands with no water adhering to it, in the same way the Tathagata, freed, dissociated, and released from these 10 things, dwells with unrestricted awareness. AN 1081. These are not the words of a person who has found release in unconsciousness. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me this morning.